sure you've heard it before. With great power comes great responsibility. I believe Voltaire said that first. But let me ask you, can you recall a time when someone with large amounts of power or influence suffered negative personal consequences for harmful or irresponsible behavior? And if you can, how long was that person able to get away with it before they actually suffered these consequences? How many people did they influence, positively or negatively, with this power before they were quote-unquote caught? If you couldn't think of anyone, it's because it never seems to happen. And in this day and age, what typically happens is a tweet is deleted or a statement is made that shifts the blame. That's it. That's all you get. That's the quote responsibility. A consequence of this is reinforcement and encouragement of the behavior, which will lead eventually to even more and or severe occurrences. It's the give an inch and they'll take a mile mentality. Just like with a child. A child tests limits all the time to find the boundaries of what is acceptable and what isn't. And if the parents or the guardian of that child never sets a boundary or a limit, the child will continue to push that limit. And because followers or supporters have given their power away to that influential or powerful person, what deterrent is there for their behavior to stop? What's worse is that many in the media support that behavior of the celebrity, of the influencer, or the influential person, because doing so benefits and enriches them, or their political party, or their company, or the individual that they're defending. And this is done too many times with no regard for the public viewer. And for the reasons I stated earlier, supporters nod in agreement. Like, yes, applause, applause, applause. I agree with that. I agree with that. Yes, I do. And most of the time, we never stop to think about what it is that we are agreeing to and whether or not what we're agreeing to is actually true. It's crazy. Instead, we shirk our individual responsibility to fact check and think for ourselves. This is a dangerous phenomenon when something said by someone powerful and influential is reckless. And I get it. Sometimes we let those people get away with it because we're busy. Life is busy. I'm busy. You're busy. Or maybe we're just apathetic. We don't care. It's whatever until it shows up on our doorstep and affects us in that way. It's no big deal. We don't care. Or maybe we're just lazy and we're just going to consume and then spit it out for more people to see. And one of the most recent examples of this is by LeBron James. 2 weeks ago, the Derek Chauvin verdict was handed down. That was on Tuesday, April 20th. The former Minneapolis police officer was convicted of murder for the death of George Floyd. And the nation leading up to that verdict was on edge for 3 weeks during that trial. Cities were preparing for riots to happen if Derek Chauvin was not convicted of murder. I think there even would have been riots in certain areas if he just got manslaughter. And when the verdict came down and convicted him of murder, there was like a sigh of relief and celebration. Celebration that some form of justice was served, and a sigh of relief by others because the riots did not occur to destroy businesses and other property in various major cities around the country. But what did LeBron do when that verdict came out? LeBron James tweeted to his 50 million followers, quote, all caps, accountability. And then, just so happens, that same day in Columbus, Ohio, news comes out that a 16-year-old girl named Ma'Khia Bryant was shot and killed by a police officer. And LeBron caught wind of this. I'm assuming he rushed to judgment, and his next tweet about that to his 50 million followers, which, by the way, isn't even the most on Twitter, but 50 million, that's in between 1/6 and 1/7 of the entire U.S. population. He tweeted in response to that shooting and killing of Ma'Khia Bryant, quote, all caps, you're next, hourglass emoji, hashtag accountability. And he tweeted that along with a picture of the police officer's face. Now, I hope LeBron did that because he reacted too quickly and he had not seen or knew all the information. Because if he had seen the video and gathered all the information and then tweeted that, that is even more reckless and sad. But what LeBron didn't tell you is that the reason why Ma'Khia Bryant was shot was in response to her having a knife and attacking a defenseless young woman, and the officer had to make a decision. But LeBron, to his 50 million followers, he doxed the police officer, put the police officer's face out there, and someone in his camp must have seen that and was seeing all the backlash that quickly came in because LeBron eventually took down that tweet. But not until I think about 8,000 people had either liked it or retweeted it. And who knows how many thousands of people took a screenshot of that tweet and then texted it to their friends or family or posted it to another social media site. No telling how far that went. And like we were talking about earlier, 50 million followers, the influence that he has, and he was reckless. And since he took down the tweet, you'd think there'd be some remorse for that action. You'd think LeBron would issue a follow-up tweet or a statement admitting that he shouldn't have done that and that he needs to get all the information before sounding off, right? Nope. Instead, LeBron tweeted that the reason he took down the original tweet that doxed the police officer was because that tweet was being used to create hate. Not because LeBron was incorrect or made a bad choice by possibly inciting violence, as some would argue, but because LeBron believes that other people were using the tweet to, quote, create hate and more racism. Later, either that night or the next day, LeBron tweeted that anger doesn't do anyone any good, including him, and that gathering all of the facts does. And then 2 weeks after that, so I believe it was Monday of this week, LeBron admitted to Vox that he fueled the wrong conversation about Ma'Khia Bryant. What's that wrong conversation, you ask? The wrong conversation he's referring to is that his first tweet with the police officer focused on Ma'Khia Bryant with a knife instead of focusing on Ma'Khia Bryant as a person, which is part of the whole movement of #SayYourName. And like I said, it's been 2 weeks since Ma'Khia Bryant was killed by the police officer, since LeBron sounded off to his 50 million followers and doxed the police officer. But has he issued an apology to that police officer? He hasn't publicly. All he said is that he showed the wrong kind of focus and brought the wrong kind of attention to Ma'Khia Bryant. Has he admitted that he made a mistake? He got close, but nope. Hasn't even said, I made a mistake. But what he has done is he has blamed others, and he stated facts are more important, but didn't say if the facts have changed his mind, and if he feels differently now that he's maybe, I'm assuming, hopefully, seen the tape and the other evidence that as we all have. And he said his actions didn't focus the story on Ma'Khia Bryant, the teenage girl. So where's the accountability for LeBron? Where are those of us and those of his 50 million followers demanding that he issues an apology, that he admits wrongdoing? Why is he shirking his responsibility? I'm not convinced that he's remorseful for what he did to that police officer. Some say his tweet could be considered as incitement of violence in the wake of the George Floyd trial. I don't know if there were any direct correlation to any violence, any kind of direct connection, but some would argue that he incited it. And if he incited violence, then he should be suspended from Twitter, right? At least for a day. But that hasn't happened either. LeBron's tweets, good or bad, influence thousands to millions of people daily. And his power and influence is one of the largest in America. And what I said earlier is on full display in this example. LeBron has tremendous amount of responsibility to choose his words and actions wisely. His influence, his power, is too large to be reckless because 50 million people have decided they want to hear from him and see what he says and does. And that's just on Twitter. I believe on Instagram he has 84 million. People have given LeBron great power and influence while also giving him great amounts of cover when he shirks the responsibility that comes with his power. Just think about that.